Now, there's a couple of trials that have been done, the Finger trial out in Europe and the Pointer trial, which is emerging, that showed aggressive lifestyle intervention, diet, exercise, managing stress, sleep, optimizing all your risk factors, was able to not just slow the progression of Alzheimer's and dementia, but to reverse it. This is published data.
Hello and welcome to the Doge and Maha News Channel. My name is Chris. Today we're going to focus on making America healthy again. We're going to watch Tucker Carlson interview Dr. Mark Hyman, and he's going to blow your mind with some information regarding cancer and Alzheimer's. So let's go ahead and check out this interview.
So you've referred a couple times to the connection between what we eat and cancer rates. Can you be a lot more precise about
Absolutely. Yeah. So the data is really
If you
clear.
want to scare people into eating better, cancer is a good way to do it.
Well, cancer is on the rise, and we've got.
Just can't get over that. I thought we were going to defeat it with our war on cancer.
Yeah, well, that was Nixon. He wanted to, but the problem is, we're barking up the wrong tree. And if you look, there's a real clear data on two drivers of cancer. One is food, and particularly sugar and starch. And two is environmental toxins, it's carcinogens, which are ubiquitous. We're exposed to toxins everywhere, and we can reduce those. But the food part is really interesting because when you look at the growth of cancer cells, they feed on sugar. There's a whole metabolic theory of cancer where if you use a ketogenic diet, and this is work being done at Columbia and by Sid Mukherjee and others, ketogenic diets as a treatment for cancer to actually shut down the cancer cells because they can only feed on sugar. We are like...
Wait, did you know that cancer cells can only feed on sugar? So they're doing some studies with ketogenic diets that are really low in sugar, obviously, or no sugar, to kill off cancer cells? Wow, that's actually shocking and amazing. Let's find out more.
Like a hybrid engine. We can go electric or we can go gas. We can go carbs, we can go fat. Cancer only goes sugar. So you starve the sugar and you kill the cancer. So
you starve the sugar and you kill the cancer. How come I've never heard of this before?
The amount of sugar and flour eating is about 152 pounds of sugar per person per year and 133 pounds of flour. That's a lot. That's almost
150 pounds of sugar per year. Oh my goodness. I'm trying to picture like a 10-pound bag of sugar and I'm eating 15 of those every year. That's wild to me, but I believe it.
3/4 of a pound a day of sugar and flour for every American. And what that does is it fuels the cancer cells. And so pancreatic cancer, colon cancer, breast cancer, uterine cancer, prostate cancer, even some lung cancers, and the data is documented, go up with insulin resistance, go up with obesity, and go up with diabetes and metabolic dysfunction. 93% of Americans, Tucker, are metabolically broken. This is extraordinary from the American Journal of Cardiology. And what this means is that we're somewhere on the degree of what I call diabesity. Diabesity is pre-diabetes to type 2 diabetes. And we cut off at pre-diabetes, but that's, 1 in 2 Americans has pre-diabetes or type 2 diabetes. That's bad enough.
1 in 2 Americans has pre-diabetes or type 2 diabetes. Is that what he just said? So 1 in 2, you're in a room with 20 people and 10 people have pre-diabetes or type 2 diabetes. That's actually shocking. I didn't know that.
38% of teenage boys. I mean, when I graduated medical school, there was no type 2 diabetes. There was no type 1 diabetes. It was juvenile diabetes, which is an autoimmune disease, or adult onset diabetes, which is a foodborne disease. And so now we've changed the names to protect the guilty. And so now we see kids.
Really?
The
names were changed to mask the cause of type 2.
Because kids were getting it. So how do we call it juvenile diabetes if kids are getting type 2 diabetes as young as 2 or 3 years old? It's not their fault. They're being fed, soda. And I once was working in an...
Okay, so kids' diabetes has traditionally been an autoimmune disease. So very rare. And now kids as young as 2 or 3 years old, he said, are getting type 2 diabetes because of sugar in their diet and things like that. So they had to actually change the name to have a distinction between the autoimmune disease and the sugar-related disease. That is wild to me.
In urgent care in California in an underserved community, and this woman comes in with back pain. She's got a baby in her baby carriage, and he's drinking this brown liquid. And I'm like, what is it? 7 months old. I'm like, what is that? She says, Coca-Cola. I'm like, why are you giving your baby Coca-Cola? She said, he likes it.
Why are you giving your baby Coca-Cola? Because he likes it. Oh my God. Of course he likes it. 7 months old and he's drinking Coca-Cola. Of course he's going to get type 2 diabetes when he's 2 or 3 years old with that kind of a diet. Wow. What kind of a mindset is that? That's actually not very shocking to me. I mean, it doesn't surprise me because, of course, yeah, well, he likes it. Well, I'm going to go ahead and feed it to him. Well, kids love cereal with tons of sugar. I know I did, so yeah, let's go ahead and feed him more of that because he likes it. Make him happy.
This is what's happening. And so we're turning our whole society into this metabolically broken society. And this is the driver of all the disease we're seeing: cancer, heart disease, diabetes, dementia. They're calling Alzheimer's type 3 diabetes because of how it's connected to sugar and insulin resistance. And I co-founded a company called Function Health, which allows people to get insights into their own biology. And what we're finding, Tucker, is that 96% of the people we're testing have metabolic dysfunction.
96%.
96, yeah.
So how do you get insight into your own biology? What does that mean?
So basically, the healthcare system is broken, and I believe that I could work for another 50 years, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe with this new administration, we'll leapfrog and things will change, which I'm very hopeful for. But I created a company with a number of other co-founders called Function Health that allows you easy access to your own blood test. It is simple: 5 minutes to sign up, 15 minutes to go into a Quest lab to get your labs drawn. You get over 110 biomarkers or lab tests. It gives you insight into everything that's going on in your body that you're not being checked for at your regular doctor's office. You get 5 times more diagnostics. You look at your hormones, your metabolic health, your cardiovascular health, your nutritional health. I mean, your immune health. We've seen 46% of Americans have some degree of autoimmunity, which is crazy. It's one of the biggest cost drivers, whether it's thyroid autoimmunity or other autoimmunity or pre-autoimmunity. We're seeing 67% have nutritional deficiencies. And these are the lab reference ranges that are Quest. These are not what I would think at optimal. So vitamin D, for example, should be over 50, 45, 50. The reference range is 30, but still we've got a huge amount of people deficient at that level. And when you're under 30, your risk of getting sick and dying of COVID is 70% higher. If your vitamin D is over 50, your risk of death is 0 compared to looking at the Israelis.
Ask you a dumb question.
No doubt.
That's interesting. So if your vitamin D is over 50, you have a 0% chance of dying from COVID. But if it's under 30, if your vitamin D is under 30, you have a much higher risk of dying from COVID. And here they did, during COVID, they told us to stay inside and lock ourselves down. They closed up all the parks and everything so that we couldn't get vitamin D naturally. And they were putting us at a higher risk of death by keeping us inside.
Dumb question.
So a basic question. So you get blood, your company does this,
Yeah.
maybe others do it, but you get a blood test.
Yeah.
You get all these markers, all these
Yeah.
measurements
Yeah.
of what's in your blood. How do you know what they mean?
Well, that's a great question. So we really used the technology to help us build a database of the most up-to-date scientific information informed by all the scientific literatures. And you have a clear description of what every biomarker means. So if your insulin or blood sugar or your cholesterol particles are abnormal or you have positive autoimmune antibodies, we tell you what it means, why it happens, what the root causes are, not necessarily just what traditional medicine thinks, but what the new science thinks around root causes. We give you all the self-care things you can do yourself to optimize your health. So you can upgrade your biology with the insights from scientific literature, from knowledge experts. We've brought in the top scientists and doctors to help inform the content. So it's like having 1,000 doctors in your pocket. Remember the iPod was 1,000 songs in your pocket?
Yeah.
This is 1,000 doctors in your pocket. And it gives you the ability to do self-care. And like I said, diabetes isn't cured in the doctor's office. It's cured in the kitchen. And
Diabetes is not cured in the doctor's office. It is cured in the kitchen. I love that statement because most of us think it's cured in the doctor's office. Most of us think that, okay, I'm going to go to the doctor. They're going to give us some pills, some insulin, some other drugs, some pharma stuff, and that's going to help me fight this diabetes. It's going to help me become healthier. And what he's saying right here, no, it's actually cured in the kitchen. It's cured by what we eat. I think all of us need to take that more to heart. Less doctor intervention, less pharma, and more actual healthy food.
And that's really what most chronic diseases can be fixed. And I see this over and over. After doing it for 30 years, I've written almost 20 books. And what I see is when people follow the guidance without having to go to the healthcare system, they can correct these things. And
Yes. So if we follow the guidance of eating healthy food and don't go through the healthcare system, we can actually correct our chronic diseases. I love that.
can fix these things.
Really?
Yes. It's quite amazing, Tucker.
And by these things, diabetes famously.
Reversible, heart disease reversible, Alzheimer's. Now, Richard Isaacson has done amazing work showing how we can reverse Alzheimer's using aggressive lifestyle interventions. But
what?
Yes, this is incredible data.
I just want to speak up as a non-doctor. We know for a fact that Alzheimer's is incurable. Nothing can make it better.
Well, that's actually not true.
Wow, did you guys know that? Alzheimer's is reversible? What? I didn't know that. That is wild. Man, and he's saying that through our diet, we can reverse diabetes, reverse Alzheimer's, reverse heart disease, all these things that they keep telling us that we can't reverse unless we have some kind of pharmaceutical intervention, which most of the time they don't even work. Plus, they add all these other side effects. I mean, just with your diet? It's actually hard to believe. It actually sounds like pseudoscience because our whole life we've been told, no, you need to go see the doctor. You need to get filled up with drugs. Only drugs can reverse them. And if they do reverse them, it's just a slight reversal and might add, 6 months to your life or something like that. But they have all these other side effects that cause other damage to your body. But our whole lives, we've been told that you have to go to the doctors, you have to go through pharma. And here he is just saying that you can make these changes. You can reverse the effects through diet and food. Wow.
I know, but I've been told that a lot.
Yeah,
So I'm just
of course, because, this is a great example. We've spent about $2 billion in over 400 studies trying to find drugs for Alzheimer's, and nothing has worked. The drugs that are approved are extremely expensive, have marginal benefit, a lot of side effects, and cost a huge amount of money, and may delay your entry into a nursing home by 2 or 3 months. That's a win. That's not very good.
That's a win? It delays your entry into the nursing home by 2 or 3 months when you have Alzheimer's? And that's considered a win with all the billions of dollars spent? Wow, that's not a win.
Now, there's a couple of trials that have been done, the FINGER trial out in Europe and the POINTER trial, which is emerging, that showed aggressive lifestyle intervention, diet, exercise, managing stress, sleep, optimizing all your risk factors, was able to not just slow the progression of Alzheimer's and dementia, but to reverse it. This is published data. This is not.
What? So aggressive lifestyle intervention like diet, exercise, lowering your stress, sleeping well, those things which all seem to be common sense, right, can actually reverse Alzheimer's? What else does he have to say?
Not my opinion. Richard Isaacson also has published this data. And now using biomarkers, and we can actually test with function, soon we'll be adding biomarkers for Alzheimer's. So now there's blood tests for Alzheimer's. So you don't have to wait until you forget your keys. And also for cancer, you're asking about cancer, we do a multi-cancer.
Wait, at what age is Alzheimer's detectable in a blood test?
That's a great question. So on imaging, which is very expensive and difficult and not
brain imaging.
Yeah, brain imaging. You can see the changes up to 30 years before you get Alzheimer's as a symptom. With blood tests, it's not as far as that. We're still figuring out, what those times are. But you can see these proteins start to develop in the blood that indicate there's something happening, and you can then intervene early. And the thing about Alzheimer's is that if you intervene early, you can have an incredible benefit to help slow the progression and delay it and actually reverse it. And I've seen this in my patients. I wrote a book about this, The Ultramind Solution, 15 years ago. Dale Bredesen's written a book called The End of Alzheimer's, and documenting that we had to get to the root causes.
Is NIH on this?
No, they're not on it. And this is what drives me crazy.
I don't understand.
That's what I'm saying. We spent so much money. We've gotten really no results.
Because I don't think you're a crackpot, but
NIH isn't in on it. Of course they're not. There's no money in it. I mean, there's no money for pharma or big food when you're talking about eating healthy. I mean, there's no money for them. So, of course, NIH is not in on it. They should be, though. They should be for the American people. They should be for our actual health. They are, after all, the National Institute of Health. They should be pro-health, but instead they are pro-pharma. And if there's no money in it for pharma, then NIH doesn't care about it.
But here you are sitting on camera saying, no, Alzheimer's is reversible.
Yeah.
Like that. Talk about a headline. Yeah. Why isn't that in the New York Times?
Good freaking question.
No, I'm serious, though.
Good freaking question.
So either you're crazy or they're dishonest.
Yeah. I think it's a medical paradigm shift. Think is most doctors are in a world is flat world. They don't understand that the world is round. We've shifted a paradigm scientifically from a disease-based diagnostic system to understanding the body as an integrated ecosystem. And so the work of people like Leroy Hood from the Institute for Systems Biology, his Phenome Project, is mapping out how our understanding of disease is completely wrong. It's based on labeling people according to symptoms and where it is in their body rather than on mechanisms and causes. So I wrote a book called Young Forever, which is about longevity. We talked about, I think, last time I was on your show. And in the book, I talk about the scientists who come up with this model of what are the root causes of aging. Because we think aging is just, it's going to happen inevitable. We're going to get sick. We're going to get older. We're going to get frail. We're going to get weak. And they've identified the underlying biology behind that. So if we cured heart disease and cancer from the face of the planet, we might extend life 5 to 7 years. You can get the same thing with meaning and purpose or playing tennis. But if you actually drill with the hallmarks of aging, the things that really go wrong, inflammation, mitochondrial injury, nutrition, you can act, and your microbiome, all the things that underlie disease, you could extend life by 30 or 40 years, which means living to 120, which is a crazy notion, right? So we now understand biology in a very different way than we did before, and it hasn't translated into the clinic. And so why I co-founded Function Health with my co-founders was to help accelerate this gap, to kind of leapfrog over this ossified system. But we need to change.
But it's just kind of crazy what you're saying. If you take 3 steps back, I mean, it's like the whole point of medicine, I presumed, was to extend and improve life.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
To keep you from dying.
Yeah, doctors
to make
are
you healthier, to
exactly.
make you happier.
Yeah.
And so if there is science that shows that that's possible and
Yeah.
everyone's ignoring it, then I'm trying not to use profanity, but like, what is that?
Yeah, well, it's a good question.
Yeah, exactly. What is that? Everyone is ignoring this new science, this new data, just because they're so caught up in an old paradigm. Hello, let's wake up and look at things differently, please. Let's not be so caught up in our religion or our way of doing things. Let's go ahead and actually look at new data, new science, new ways of viewing our health instead of being stuck in the old system of, diagnosing symptoms and parts of the body. Let's look at our health holistically.
Question, because we have a illness, medical, industrial, food, ag complex that profits off of people being sick.
But so you
Yes. Truth. Yeah, we have this illness, pharma, food, industrial complex. I love the way you put that. And they make a lot of money off of us being sick. They make a lot of money off of chronic illnesses. They make a lot of money off of diagnosis, off of surgeries, off of pharma. And so that's the reason that a lot of these other studies that talk about making major lifestyle changes, they're not being promoted. They're not being talked about in major media.
write a book saying, or someone else, several doctors write books saying, I can show that Alzheimer's is reversible.
Yeah.
And what is every other doctor in America? Because they just don't read the book. They haven't heard of it. Like,
yeah,
what?
it's like,
that's kind of a provocative thesis.
Yeah.
Because I think of Alzheimer's as like AIDS in 1986. Like it's the worst thing.
It's big.
And there's nothing you can do about it.
No, it's.
Do you remember that with AIDS?
100%. It's scary as hell, and
the scariest.
It's scary as hell.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that this is not my opinion. I was at Cleveland Clinic. I worked with Marwan Sabah when he was there. He was the head of the Dementia Research Center. He understood this. He understood these mechanisms, these biology. The science is there. But there's no funding for it, because what are we talking about, Tucker? We're talking about providing lifestyle interventions that they're intensive, that people need support. They need to change their diet. They need to exercise. They need to optimize their sleep. They need to manage stress. They need to take the right nutritional supplements. They need to modify their risk factors aggressively. This requires a very different reimbursement system. We don't have evidence-based medicine, Tucker. We have reimbursement-based medicine. Doctors do what they get paid to do, not what the right thing is. The right treatment for diabetes is not more drugs or Ozempic. The right treatment is diet.
Yes, that is a fact. Doctors get paid for different kinds of treatment. They get paid for treatment. They don't get paid for results. They get paid for subscribing Ozempic. They get paid for subscribing different pharma, but they don't get paid for saying, hey, go home and start eating healthy.
You know,
So it sounds like doctors aren't really in control.
Wow. That interview with Dr. Mark Hyman, amazing. I didn't know any of that. Did you know that? Did you know that sugar actually feeds cancer cells? But if you can starve your body from sugar and your body fuels itself with fats instead of sugars, that cancer cells will die? That makes me want to go on a sugar-free, a no-sugar diet right now. I mean, I've already started to do that. I've reduced the amount of sugar in my diet considerably, and I'm trying to go from that to zero sugar in my diet. I didn't know that that was going to be a cancer benefit, but now I do. It makes me want to go that route even more. And then the fact that he's talking about Alzheimer's is reversible. What? Okay, I need to look into that some more because I don't want to get Alzheimer's, right? Do you want to get Alzheimer's? I don't. I want to have brain function all the way until my final days, my final hours. So this interview was really interesting. I'm going to dig up the longer form of this interview. I'm sure there's other nuggets that we can pull out of this long form interview and learn from. I'm really interested in this Making America Healthy Again agenda. Not only is it great information for me personally, but it's also good information for our nation as a whole. If you're interested in the MAHA movement and learning more about it, I do have a playlist with other videos. You can check it out right here. Also, make sure you subscribe because I put out MAHA related videos almost every day, and you can go ahead and click on this button right here and subscribe. I just want to say thanks a lot for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video.